So just putting consistent, good quality content out there, being normal and talking about real life experiences and giving advice based on real life experiences has kind of been my secret sauce.
Are you about to start a podcast or producing a podcast and tired of doing the editing yourself? We have produced over 1,000 daily shows, and the production team that I've created, they're now available to produce shows for you as well. We can do as little or as much as you need, from finding and communicating with guests, preparing introductions, to editing the audio and video. You will sound better, have a more professional presence, and be able to spend your time doing other valuable tasks on your business. Let me know you're interested by emailing me directly at whitney@lifebridgecapital.com. Do you struggle with the thought of, I'm not special? There's nothing that's any different than me. There's no way I can achieve those big things. I'm just a normal person, or I just grew up in a normal family. There's nothing different about me, or no way for me to stand out. There's no way for me to achieve big success. Well, I encourage you to listen to today's show. He calls himself just a normal dude, but that now has financial freedom. He had that regular job, he had the side hustle that finally became full-time, and now has financial freedom. His name is Sam Primm. He's a successful father, husband, real estate entrepreneur, born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Left his 9-to-5 job to focus full-time on his real estate ventures. He grew his $3 million portfolio to $40 million plus within a matter of a few years. You're going to learn a lot from Sam today, and really getting past the thought of just that, you're not any different than anybody else. You can't achieve that success, but also Sam has created an amazing following on social media that we're going to jump into that I feel like is going to be helpful for most of us thinking about creating the following, creating the brand, and how important that is, even how much time he now spends on that. That's helped him achieve success. Sam, welcome to the show. I'm honored to have you on, and I love our conversation even before we got started too. I just think about how you went from where you were as this normal dude, you call it, quote, to where you're at now. And I think you're going to relate to so many of the listeners who almost feel like, they're in that same bucket or in those same shoes and feel like they can't do it, or, it's not for them, or all those things. But tell us a little bit more about who you are, and let's dive in.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you having me on. So like you said, I'm just a normal dude. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. My mom was a teacher. My dad was an engineer. We grew up fine, not like wanting for anything, but didn't grow up super fancy. Definitely lived on a budget. Went to school, went to college, got a full-time job out of college. Was just going down that path that most people go down and that society kind of pushes people down. And that's something inside of me kind of wanted more. I'd always done some side, painting businesses or lawn care businesses growing up. So I started to invest in real estate on the side after a few years of a full-time job. And then, as you kind of alluded to, went from the full-time job to side hustle real estate. And then that side hustle turned into a full-time hustle that's now financial freedom. So just kind of, we can get into it a little bit and unpack that, but just pretty normal path, but done some pretty cool things along the way.
What was it? What was your first real estate investment? Was it your own thing? Were you investing with somebody else? And what made you comfortable to do that? It's kind of stepping out of the normal path, as which we've all kind of, most of us have experienced that, or felt like we're kind of going against the grain to step out of that job, right? Or even think about that. For you, why real estate? Was it your own deal? Was it somebody else's? How did you feel comfortable doing that?
I mean, a super crazy story reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Of course, no one's ever heard of that book. But so I read that actually on my honeymoon in 2000, end of 2011. And my best friend who I had businesses growing up with, or those little, lawn care stuff and painting stuff, gave it to me. And he had read it and I read it, and we just kind of had talked, and we wanted to do something on the side. He hated his job. I didn't really hate mine. And we just wanted to start something and to go down some kind of path. We didn't, know what. We're not going to invent the next app, not super technologically advanced. And real estate had seemed to be a proven path through Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and through what I've read and seen. Real estate's a great way to make some extra money. So that's what we did. We bought a house. The plan was to flip it and take the profits and put 20% down on the rental. I didn't know about the refinance and the BRRRR method and, using other people's money to buy rentals. I knew you could borrow money to flip. I'd seen Flip or Flop on HGTV. I remember them going to some rich dude's house and getting the money, and then they split the profits with them. So I knew you could do that. but I didn't know anything about rentals really. So we bought that house with the plan to flip it and sell it, but we ended up refinancing, keeping it as a rental, and we still own it today. So started off right off the gate with the rental property.
So your wife married you thinking you got this great job, you're on your honeymoon, reading this book, probably sharing these things, and she's thinking, "What did I get myself into?" I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it goes deeper than that. I had that job real quickly. A quick little side story. I had that job out of college, and I was doing very well for myself. I enjoyed it. Okay, I didn't hate it, but ever since I was 23, 24, I've been making a couple $100,000 a year, and that's in St. Louis. So that goes pretty far. And, when I was thinking about quitting my job, I was a sales manager making even more than that. And she just was wondering, why are you doing this? Why are you spending this time doing this? You got a great job. We're set up for the future. And in order to get her to kind of where I wanted to go in my mindset, I ended up doing PowerPoint presentations. So I had a handful of PowerPoint presentations I gave her over a several month period that kind of got her on board. And then I jumped off the JOB. So just kind of a funny side story that brought that up, bringing the wife involved. Got to communicate a little better than I did. Don't wait till you have to resort to PowerPoints. Bring them along the way with you.
That's so wise. And, I just did an interview with Julia Barbaro. I don't know if you know her or not, but we talked about, the spouse, right? And their part in this entrepreneurial journey that is so important, and their support. And she talked about almost what you just said. It's like, man, be communicating with them as you're educating yourself, as you're learning these things, bring them along with you. So it's not this like big bomb that goes off eventually. Hey, I think we should go do this thing over here. It's like, no, that you've been educating them along the way. I think that's very wise. So, you call yourself a normal dude. And you're in the home with the parent, the teacher, engineer. You're going to college. Speak to what pushback did you receive? Now, you talked about your wife there a little bit. You obviously have an amazing income, and then you're telling your spouse, "Well, wait a minute, I want to go do this thing over here." And she even at first, you mentioned a little pushback there, right? Wait a minute, we're set up. Why would you go do this thing? What about, how did that go? But then also, are there other people that spoke in you and said, wait a minute, Sam, are you crazy? How did that go? Even with family or friends?
Yeah, kind of surprising, but I guess not. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as far as pushback, but there was definitely some eyebrows raised and what are you doing? And why are you going down that path? Just because, everybody's, brainwashed to, you're on the path exactly where people want to be and on that path, but definitely got some pushback. My parents weren't super excited about it. My dad definitely wasn't a fan of it. He's the, engineer for 40 years for one company kind of guy, and it worked out great for him. But yeah, he definitely wasn't on board with it. I remember when I told my old company, they were shocked because I had, worked up pretty quickly, working my way up the corporate ladder pretty quickly and had a pretty bright future there. Remember my boss got a little misty-eyed when I told him I was leaving. So it was quite the thing. It wasn't like, something crazy to where I was, leaving some job to go do something that was, whether it works or not, I can go get that old job, making 50 grand a year. Who cares? It was a little bit more of a risk. Now I don't really get a bunch of sympathy from anybody for making good money and quitting a job, but there was definitely some risk there because in order to replace that type of income probably would have taken a little bit of time. So there was some risk, but it ended up working out. It took me a couple of years to get back to that point. But then when I could focus full time on real estate, things have really, 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 really blown up.
Yeah, no, but you took the risk. You took the step. You pushed through that fear. Yeah, and obviously, I'm sure you're grateful now that you did. Speak to managing that a little bit. You started this side hustle. It grew. How did you manage JOB with, a side hustle with family and keep all that going until you could make that transition?
Super well, but I handled it. So again, I didn't communicate super well at first. Me and my wife, we have a 6-year-old daughter now, but at that time when I got started in 2014, 2015, didn't have any kids yet, which helped because me and my business partner, Lucas, were, weekends we were going work on the houses, doing what we could, trying to save money where we could and learn the process a little bit, spending 20 hours a weekend gone. And then evenings meeting lenders or meeting contractors or meeting to discuss things. So we definitely took some time away from our families. Our wives, luckily, like I said, we didn't have kids. By the time our kids did come around, even before we went full time, we had started to kind of hire things out. We learned that we can manage a project or do some work and it can take 4 months, but we can hire somebody out to do it in 2 months. It might cost a little bit more, but the opportunity to do twice as many properties in the same amount of time was well worth it. So We did it a little bit. We're not super hard-headed, a little bit. We learned pretty quickly to hire things out, to manage our time properly and do other things and spend time with family. So we started to do that before we even went full-time, which kind of helped, I think, that transition. But at first it was just jumping in and doing as much as you could ourselves, and probably not probably hanging the cabinets like we probably should have. Hopefully they're still hanging on that first property, but we did the best with what we could at the time.
Awesome. Yeah, you do have to do the best you can with what you have at the time. And so let's move to, scaling. You have scaled, you have grown your business in a big way. Let's talk about that process. Maybe not everybody just knows how to operate a business, right? There's a lot of education that has to come in, and a lot of time spent committed to figuring out how to do this thing we call business or entrepreneurship, right? A lot to learn. How did you do that? When did it start to scale? What were some things that you started to learn or put into place that have now looking back, you can see, man, that was a good decision. That's helped us to grow so fast.
Yeah, a couple of things. So initially just setting yourself up with this real estate investing thing. And especially the time we did it, really starting to grow in 2017. That's a great time. The market's been great since then. So that's good. But having that backing of such a quality asset and quality investment was huge. And then having Lucas and I, my business partner, I'm more of the sales, the negotiation, the finding deals, the marketing. He's the operations, the finance, the deal process, all that kind of stuff. So he and myself really kind of that yin and yang helped us kind of divide and conquer, rather than at first, when we first got started, we were both analyzing every deal. We were both doing this. We were both going to Home Depot to get stuff. We were both doing everything together, which was fun, but it didn't allow us to grow. As soon as we kind of decided, hey, I trust you, you trust me, you do that, I'll do this, let's meet up later and talk about it, things really started to grow. And then as we started to do that, we started to make more money and wanted to grow even more. So we ended up hiring people and hiring the right people, having them in the right seat on the right bus really, really helped us. Reading books like Traction by Gino Wickman, we're setting up our systems and processes internally, because small businesses and entrepreneurs don't have like systems to, fall back on. They just figure it out. But if you have some type of accountability system, really helps. So I think just generally us learning to work with each other to grow, and us starting to hire the right people and have systems around it takes time, but it didn't really take time that long looking back at it. And just, having the right people that you trust is huge.
You mentioned, being able to hire people. When were you all able to start hiring, and why? And did you feel ready? People say, when did you hire the first assistant or first person? And it's often a question. So, were you all ready? Did you feel financially able? Was it a time where, everything just seemed to work out to be able to hire? Or was it like, no, the workload's so big? How did you all work through that?
Yeah. So, that's a great question. I get that a lot. Like, what is your first hire, first two hires? So kind of in small businesses, and I'm sure you've seen this, it's kind of everybody, there's 2 or 3 people and everybody's wearing 8 hats. And when it becomes so overwhelming that you're yelling at each other all the time, all right, what's your like hardest thing that you can be like put into one job description and hire that out? And then again, everybody's going to be doing too much. So that's it's not like a systemized way to do it, or we didn't do it. Just when everybody had too much, was pulling their hair out, we hired somebody, and then everybody was doing it again because we like to grow. But as far as the first couple of hires, we were pretty strategic about that, because our first hire was a project manager. And, you think you got to pay a project manager 60, 70 grand a year. Where's that money come from? Well, it came out of the project. So we just charged time from the project. So if we were to borrow $150,000 from a private lender for the purchase and 80 grand for the rehab, we just borrowed 190 grand. That 10 grand paid that, it just came out of the funds and came out of the deal. Then when we sold it or rented it, we got our money back from the bank. So we were able to kind of put that project manager's time in each deal and tie it to houses. So it didn't come out of our pocket, or, it didn't come out of after profit. I guess it technically came out before the profit was there. So that was a great way to do it and not use our own money. And then we always put in property management costs in our rental analysis. And we hired property management out third party for a little while, but then we ended up bringing that in house and had a part-time property manager just work 5 hours a week, then 10 hours a week, then 15 hours a week to grow with us. And we just paid them from rent. So it was a good way to not like dig into our business, bank account or reserves or personal, to just pay them out of the rent or out of the project that's being rehabbed.
Awesome. It's incredible just to think through. how different people have hired, the timing of that. And because I get that question a lot. And you talked about hiring the right people in the right seats. You mentioned traction. Was that something you all were using then, like traction, or is that something that kind of came later down the road? How do you all use that? And has that been helpful?
Yeah, so we did not use traction at that time. The time frame I was talking about, those two hires and everybody pulling out their hair, was probably like 2016-ish, maybe. We both quit our jobs in 2018. We probably started traction, I would say, in 2019 or mid to late 2019. So yeah, that definitely came later. And that traction's really helped us scale and, get things up to the next level. I have a $40 million rental portfolio. 20 of it has come in the last 12 months. So we really have been able to scale and grow even in the crazy market that's been up until recently. So we're definitely starting to scale, and having the systems in place and the right, accountability charts and the right people, and using traction over the past couple of years has, I think, kind of set us to launch, which has happened recently.
Nice. No, that's awesome. And yeah, I would encourage anybody with a business to read Traction. And there's so many other books that go along with that are very helpful. I did another interview recently on a book called Building an Elite Organization, which I actually have Traction sitting here as well, because I like, these are constant books that I'm like going back to, right? Well, what did he say about that again? Or, what kind of meeting, or how did he run that meeting, or whatever it may be. But I encourage everybody that's trying to run a business, start a business, to read those and think through operating a business. So I want to use a few minutes now, Sam, to focus on something that you seem to have done better than most also, and that's creating your social media presence. And I want you to be able to elaborate on that. Most people that are listening are probably trying to do, especially if they're starting a business or trying to raise money, talk to investors, whatever it may be. They're trying to do that in some form or fashion. And you made it sound so simple before we started recording, how you have done this, but you've created a big following, bigger than most, especially with no more team that you've dedicated to it, right? And so elaborate on your social media presence, and let's dive into a few techniques that's helped you to do that.
For sure. I mean, to start that off, I think everybody should be at least trying it. Having a brand these days has never been easy, and it's never been more valuable. You used to have a camera follow you around to have anybody see you. Now, all you need your phone. You can reach hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And having eyeballs is very valuable. It's kind of real estate in people's minds. So it's another form of real estate, but it's extremely valuable real estate. So what I did was I knew I wanted to start some brand, an education brand. I really didn't know. I was posting on social media on my personal Facebook page just randomly every once in a while. It really garnered interest from people. And, hey, how can you help me? Or can you teach me? Or meet for coffee? And so it just kind of spurred that in my mind. So I started what most people do, a YouTube and Instagram. Like most people, 4 months into my YouTube channel, my videos were getting 50, 60 views. YouTube and they were just both were not really doing a ton. And then this TikTok thing was there, and that was in mid to late 2020. I decided, all right, I'm gonna start this TikTok. I don't know what it is. It's a dancing app. It's an app where, girls do weird stuff, and it's just, and guys sing and dance. I can't do any of that. So what am I doing here? But I'll try it. I'd seen somebody post a real estate thing on there before. So I started TikTok, and I said, I'm going to do it once a day for 30 days. This is weird. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to cancel the account. But I think on the 4th or 5th day, I got a video that got 100,000 views. I was like, holy cow. I get that it's a 15-second video, but that's a lot of eyeballs.
What kind of dance did you do? That's what we all want to know.
It was at the time. It was the, I don't even talk in most of them. If anybody sees it, I'm kind of known as a guy that doesn't talk. I just literally point to words and it works. So I started to get traction there, and that's kind of bled to the other platforms, and then it's grown since then. And they kind of get into some of the reasons why, and then we can get into some tactics. I think it's just because I go back to that normal dude. The biggest thing I get in my messages is you're just like a normal dude, or you're authentic, or you're real. You're not flashing Lambos, or you're not pretending that you're better than us or this or that. You're not like schooling us. You're just talking about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I can relate to that. You're relatable. And that's what it's been. It's been me on my phone, front facing camera, walking around pointing or talking or whatever it may be, has really, really seemed to, hit home with people. I just had a video hit 1 million views again. I think I have over 20 videos on TikTok that have over 1 million views. So just putting consistent, good quality content out there, being normal and talking about real life experiences and giving advice based on real life experiences has kind of been my secret sauce, as opposed to something writing, I wrote a book 10 years ago and now I'm still talking about it. Or I, have 4 rentals and I'm trying to teach people how to buy rentals. So having the quality of information as well as the real life, case studies to back it up that I talk about kind of has seemed to struck a chord. And I don't know why or how, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Speak to, what platforms did you start using and maybe your cadence of that? How, give us some even practical things that the listener could start doing right now.
For sure. So what I did, basically the biggest thing I've done on Instagram and TikTok has been a video a day or try to do a video a day. And most people think that they don't have it, they're not buttoned up, or they don't have good enough content to actually get the views. But those are the best. Those are the people, that's what's helped me. And those are what helped most people. Somebody, if they want to buy their first rental, they want to see somebody that's bought their third rental and how they're doing it. Somebody, me saying, hey, I bought 42 houses in one neighborhood in one deal. That's cool, but they can't relate to that. That's too big of a step. So somebody that's wanting to get into this, do it. And the fact that you're literally talking about how you're starting and how you haven't bought one yet and you're offering and you're analyzing, you lost out on this deal. People love that. So that's better content, honestly, and it's relatable content. But one a day on TikTok and Instagram, YouTube, I've gone back and forth. I've, done 2 a week, 3 a week. I'm anywhere between 1 and 2 of those a week. Plus I go live. I go live on all 3 platforms, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram a lot. And I'm teaching live on a smartboard or a whiteboard and talking and answering questions and, providing, you gotta prove yourself for someone to follow you. TikTok in 5 minutes, they see 40 different accounts. So in Instagram in 5 minutes, they probably see 10. In YouTube, they see 1. So the quality of the viewer, you got to know, but just no matter what platform it is, just lead with good quality information and people will hit that follow button and then it'll kind of snowball from there. So those are my main platforms. I'm kind of getting into Twitter a little bit. I got excited when Elon said he was going to buy it. I thought maybe he'd rejuvenate it. So I started to get on that. But I haven't gone all, tried to go too wide. I've tried to kind of stay narrow in my main social media platforms to try and, garner as much attention as I can there.
It's incredible what you've accomplished there. And, it seems like a lot. I know a lot of listeners, they say to me, we've done a daily show for like 1,400 days now. And a lot of people say, well, wait a minute, how do you come up with that much content? How do you stay consistent? And I would ask you the same, because I know that's what they're asking. As they were saying, wait a minute, it seems like a lot, right? Sam, how do you create the time, the schedule to do that? You said every day, a video a day on Instagram and TikTok, and then also on YouTube, 2 or 3 times a week. How do you come up with that much content and how do you create the schedule where you're that consistent?
I'm a psychopath. No, I'm kidding. I just spend a lot of time on it. I see the power of it. And the biggest thing, how I get the time is I have that divide and conquer thing I talked about. Lucas, my business partner, he runs our flipping company. I haven't even been to a meeting for that company in probably 8 to 10 months. So he runs that company. He does everything. He hasn't been to an education branding company, the Faster Freedom brand. He hasn't been to a meeting in 8 months. So having people run your other businesses, and we have in-house property manager that manage my rentals. Aside from the business side of it, I just have a handful of meetings a week, and the rest of the time is spent thinking, creating content, being smart with what you're doing. You can use a really quality, good, 35-second video. You can use that exact same video on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. You can use it as YouTube Short. You can use it as Instagram Reel. You can use it. So repurposing content is good. And then just, spending the time on it. If it's really important to you, you'll make the time for it. If you spend an hour and a half a day creating content, you're going to be successful. If you spend 20 minutes today, 0 tomorrow, an hour the next day, none for 2 days, you're not going to be successful. It's all about consistency. The algorithms aren't going to push you unless you've proven that you're going to be consistent. They're not going to spend that valuable time on that For You page or Explore page or that main page of YouTube if you're not consistent. They don't want someone to see one video, go to your page and not see videos for a week. That doesn't do them any good. They want someone to binge watch your stuff. So you got to be consistent with quality, and then it starts to build. So it's just one of those things where you feel like you're an idiot and talking to yourself on your phone for 3 months, but then eventually it starts to pick up.
I appreciate the transparency around that. No doubt about it. When you first start talking in your phone, I was the same way. It's like, oh, this is just silly. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at myself.
Looking at my face and my voice is stupid. I hate it. No, yeah, I still think that sometimes. So yeah.
So speak quickly to like coming up with the content though. Like, how do you simplify that? So, you talked about like an hour a day. I mean, are you spending that much time creating this, coming up with the content and creating that?
Yeah, yeah, I am. So it just kind of really depends. So I have like probably 10 go-to topics that I know will do decent to well. Starting out a video, I'm in $25 million worth of debt. That's going to get their attention. That video will do well, but I can't do that every day. Or this is how I bought 40 million without using any of my own money. Those type of things, and talking about leverage. I'm talking about cash flow, and that I love debt. Like those kind of just like against the grain, bigger topic things will get people's attention. But you can't do that every single day, and because people will say that's the same video. So I spend, if I need to, if it's quick and short, don't have a ton of time, I'll go to, something that I know works or a topic that works. But I experiment with a lot of stuff. I did one this weekend, spent a ton of time doing it. I edited. I'm working on hiring out some editors to help me. And it did not do well. I think it's got like 8,000 views on TikTok, and the next one has 1 million. So it's like I thought it was going to crush it, and it didn't. So whether it's the algorithm, whether it was my delivery, whatever it was, just always trying to invent, think of new things. And I fortunately am doing a lot of really pretty cool things in real estate, buying, flipping, wholesaling, renting apartments. So I have a lot of content to back that up. But I think people that don't have that much actual real life case studies just talk about the struggles and the wins and the meeting a wholesaler and meeting this and all those type of things, your day to day life that somebody's wanting to be where you are could relate to. Kind of answer your question, but kind of rounded it about.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And then what about tracking and converting leads that you're getting from that? How do you know that it's working? And other than just seeing a number of followers, how does that convert to actual something substantial for yourself?
Yeah, that's the fun part. Like you just said, you can see followers and see video views. So you can kind of see it happening then, and every video's got a chance to do great. So that's fun. But as far as transferring to leads, I ask people, I go live or I have a video and I tell them to message me, and then I message them a free training. And then that free training allows them to learn more. And then they can hop on the call with my team to talk about the mentorship. So you can kind of track them. So we have two different funnels, a paid traffic funnel and an organic funnel. So don't always know exactly which platform it comes from, usually Instagram, because that's my main messenger. But just kind of following the funnel, the lead flow where people came in. It has been a pretty good way to do it. And organic's obviously the best. I think 80% of my signups are organic, 20% are paid ads. So people organically follow you, they trust you, they know you, they hop on the call with your team, and then they want to learn more. It's never a hard sell. It's like, this is here. If you want it, great. If not, just enjoy my free stuff. So that's seemed to be a pretty good pitch.
All right, Sam, shifting gears a little bit, looking back now to where you started a number of years ago, whether it's social media, whether it's, leaving your job, what would you have done different? Looking back 5 years ago, whatever it was, what are one or two things you would say, I wish I had known this then, or, I'd do it the same way, or maybe I would have done this different when I presented this to my spouse, or what would you do different?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do the whole, I would everything the exact same because it's put me where I am today kind of answers. Yeah, I definitely, I feel like we did a lot of things right. We screwed up a lot too. A couple of things I would have done different. I would have communicated a little bit better with my wife at the beginning. And the other thing that I would have done differently that I'm just kind of realizing now, because as I talk about this, create content about it, I'm talking it and like really reflecting on a lot of things more than you would as you just go. Because I usually just blow it and go it and not worry about it. We'll figure it out later. It seemed to work out so far. Maybe not super efficient, but we get a lot done and then we create efficiencies. I would have created bigger goals. So I think last year, our 3-year goal was to have 26 million in real estate, and we're at 40 now. And the goals seem big when you create them, but we seem to, really have some good luck and some good fortune and hard work and a good team. We really seem to beat those goals. I just wonder what if my goals would have been higher at first? Where would I be right now? Because now the 20-year goal is to bring an NBA team to St. Louis, and that's a big goal. So to bring an national NBA team to St. Louis, an expansion team, that's a crazy goal. So we're finally figured out how to make big, crazy goals. But up to this point, we kind of didn't really push ourselves. I feel like, our first goal was one house a year for 10 years, one house each year, and have 10 houses at the end of 10 years. So just setting bigger goals and having more confidence in myself and our team that we can, do some really crazy things. I think that would have probably made us be bigger, better, faster, stronger, and maybe not, hindered us even mentally, just that, hey, this is all we're going to do because this is our goal. I think setting those big, crazy goals probably could have been, would have helped us even more.
Awesome. Stretch yourself, right? Bigger than what you probably thought. What are the most important metrics that you track? It could be professional, personally. What are some of those for you?
Yeah, the biggest metrics that we track in like my education brand, we track leads, and then we track retention ratio. The biggest metrics we track in the flipping company that buys and sells houses is, again, leads and profit. If there's a common theme of you need eyeballs or leads coming in to make money. And then in our rentals, it's value of rental properties. We used to track doors, but a single family rental in St. Louis is, $180,000, but in another state, it's $360,000. So tracking doors is not as, it's not as apples to apples. So we're tracking dollars of rental portfolio is what we're tracking right now. And we're also starting to track paid off rentals. We're starting to refinance and pay off rentals to have some security, to have some paid off properties that we can take lines of credit and loan against. So those are kind of the bigger, tactical number factors. And then my personal life is just being there and trying to be more present with my family, my wife and my two daughters, and trying to put the phone away and not be as business when I'm home. It doesn't always happen, but just trying to be more present is more of my just number one goal there in home.
That's a great goal, by the way. And it's not always as easy as it may sound, right? And so Sam, what are some daily habits? Maybe that's one of them, but that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve success.
So yeah, I don't have the morning routine of getting up at 4 a.m. and meditating and scribing and hanging up upside down in the sauna and having affirmations and all those kind of things. I don't have that. I've tried those. I've tried the morning miracle or miracle morning, whatever that is. I've tried all that. It just doesn't work for me, and it's almost forced and fake. So what I really do is I just get up and I go. I wake up and, well, usually my daughter and kids or my kids and wife are sleeping, but I just start off the day running. That's all I do. It's nothing special. It's different every day. Check my calendar before I go to bed, set some to-dos before I go to bed, kind of as I'm just like kind of more peaceful and just more relaxed. And then I get up and I go and just nonstop all day, figuring stuff out, knocking stuff off my list, creating short-term and long-term lists. And, there's no magic sauce to it. I kind of wish there was, but it's really just getting up and going every single day and not really taking too much time, because I love my family and I love my work. So I don't like golf every weekend or do all these crazy or all these fun things that people think you do as you start to create success and time freedom. I just love my family and love my work and love my job and my businesses. So that's all I do. Those two things all day, every day. And I get enough joy out of that I don't need to go on the golf course or go on 4 vacations a year or have have a vacation house. I don't need that right now. Maybe I will. But right now it's just spending my time with my family and growing my businesses. And I get more than enough joy out of that. Sometimes it feels silly to even get paid for it. So I think that's kind of the waking up and going, and then not having all these little side things that take up time and not watching a ton of TV, doing all those things has allowed me to kind of get where I am.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Probably my lack of satisfaction with the status quo. I'm happy where I am, but I'm never satisfied. I always want to do more. Our education company basically broke even for 18 months, and now we're extremely profitable, like very, very profitable. And I'm like, all right, how do we make more money? How do we do this? How do we impact more people? How can we hire more people so we can, impact more lives? So just always wanting more. It's definitely a detriment at times, as long as you can control it, but it seems to be what always drives me. I think one of my team members the other day is like, when are you ever going to be just okay? I'm like, I don't know, but not right now. So go do that and let's make it better. So always just wanting to improve and never being satisfied. It sounds negative, and it can be, but I think always wanting to improve and always having that competitiveness to be the best, but not at the expense of others. There's enough out there for everybody. Having that mindset of abundance. You can win. I can win. We both can win. It has been big for me, I think.
How do you like to give back?
We have a nonprofit that we just started last year. It's called Greater Giving. It has a focus on mental health awareness. Our kind of take on that is if we can start kids young to have the, mental health awareness, not have it be a negative stigma, learn how to deal with trauma, that can last generations. They'll be better. They'll be better in high school. They'll be better in college. They'll be better parents. So start it young and have kids be able to deal with the mental health issues that kids are dealing with today. So we just started last year. We raised $137,000 last year, which we're super excited about. All our companies donate 2% profit. We do a golf tournament. We do a trivia night. So given that's how we give back, along with trying to support our community through providing safe housing and good housing and being good landlords. So those kind of things are how we give back.
Awesome. Sam, I appreciate you sharing that and how you all give back in that way. I appreciate your time today, even expressing or being willing to be transparent about being the normal dude, quote, that has now done so well, right? And just your path from full-time JOB to side hustle to full-time to now financial freedom. But even elaborating on your social media presence and what that's done. But also I missed, how you all scaled, right? Even some things about traction and right people, right seats, those things. Grateful for your time to have met you and the value you've created for the listeners and myself today. How can they get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Yeah, just on social media. I'm on all of them now. I say just pick your favorite 2 or 3. If you're not on Twitter, don't follow me on Twitter. If you are active on Twitter, follow me there. So just follow me at Sam Faster Freedom. You can check out the website. Faster Freedom is the brand, and my name's Sam. So anyways, my handle on all the social media is at Sam Faster Freedom. So just check me out on social medias you're on. If you like what you see, you can message me on Instagram. I'll reach out to you and we can have a chat. But if not, just enjoy all the free content I put out there, and hopefully it inspires some people to know that they can take their own path. They can control their future. They don't have to let some job or some boardroom full of crusty old people make decisions for a company that they work for. They can make their own path.
Thank you for being a loyal listener of the show. Please subscribe and share it with your friends. We want to help you become the passive investor you've always wanted to become, but also the operator you've always wanted to become. We want to be the number one resource for your real estate investing journey. But go to lifebridgecapital.com where you can start investing in real estate today.